This is Leo Brady with AMovieGuy.com. I am so excited to be talking with an absolute legend of action cinema, a legend of martial arts, and now he has his hilarious and fantastic new film, Outlaw Johnny Black, coming out. I am here today with Michael Jai White. Michael, thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
Man, this is I've been following your career forever, man, and you are the real deal. Early on you had parts in Universal Soldier, On Deadly Ground, things like that. But I think a common misconception for you about you is that I think people might tend to lump you in with the Schwarzeneggers and the Jean-Claude Van Dammes and things of that nature, but you're a really multifaceted talent. Have you found yourself trying to run away from like the typecasting? Not that you haven't made action movies, but have you tried your best to sort of keep yourself in that multifaceted way?
Well, yeah, I got to be myself, I mean, I'm used to people, people usually have to try to categorize you. I mean, it's a human thing to do.
Yeah.
Usually you're supposed to be on one shelf. I remember I went to a comedy night one time, and the comedian, I believe it was Chris Spencer, he called me Denzel Van Schwarzenhart. And that stuck with me. It was hilarious. And he did a bit. He was like, man, because you're like this, and you look like Denzel, and you got the Van Damme thing, and the Schwarzenegger, your fitness, and then the Kevin Hart comedy stuff. And I was like, wow, that's weird and that was kind of astute. That I never heard that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's I guess that can lead to confusing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when I have friends that tell people, "Oh, Mike is really funny," and they're like, "No way," because they think I'm this bloodthirsty like martial art killer.
Right.
Yeah, but it's okay that people don't understand. It's but I've written. I was a school teacher before I was an actor.
Yeah.
And I've got a very eclectic background. And so for doing something like this and writing a movie and directing something like this is in my wheelhouse. But it's just me really, operating in my natural capacity.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too about your career. The first time I ever saw you is for your portrayal of Mike Tyson,
Mhm.
and then obviously Spawn. And I find it almost like you were making movies just at the wrong time, because now all we get are biopics and superhero movies. Did you feel like, not that it's about like regrets or anything like that, but do you kind of have moments where you're like, well, I started doing that. I started that superhero thing. I was, started to do Spawn. I showed my acting chops as Mike Tyson. Did you feel like in some ways maybe your career just was starting at the wrong moment, or maybe you were more meant for this time? I don't know.
I don't tend to think that way.
Yeah.
My thing is that if I do my best, that's all I can do,
Yeah.
right? And I make no expectations. I know again that it's going to confuse people because
Yeah.
usually, I mean, you do a certain movie and then you get offered only those type of movies. There's a
Right.
pigeonholing that happens, and I knew that was going to happen. That's why when I first got into Hollywood and started taking roles, I didn't want to do any martial art roles because I know it's synonymous with bad acting, whatever they're going to say that's all you do.
Yeah.
And sadly, even Wesley Snipes, who had done all these amazing movies, as soon as he
Right.
did martial arts and Blade, he got pigeonholed as like just an action guy.
Yeah.
So I know that's just a human thing to do, and it's a human thing to just categorize people because you spend 3 seconds and you try to peg something. But that's okay. It's like I say, it's human nature, and until I define who exactly I am, as the first me, or possibly, or
Yeah.
Denzel Van Schwarzenegger, whatever you
Right.
want to do. But
Right.
it's going to confuse people until they see fully who you are.
Yeah. Well, and I love the hills and valleys your career has sort of taken, because it's like you're never you're never gonna, as you said, pigeonhole yourself. You're not gonna let yourself stick to one routine and then it becomes stale. I mean, almost 10 years ago today, you have a part in probably one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, in The Dark Knight. Talk about sort of, did that sort of just shock you, that almost like you can look back at that now 10 years later and you're still a part of the superhero genre in so many ways, whether it was with Spawn or with The Dark Knight, you are going to make your impact in some possible way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I still look at myself as just beginning. I really do. I haven't even hit my stride, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's a lot that, I have a lot of great storytelling yet to show.
Right.
And even characters that I've yet to portray.
Yeah.
Again, there's a pigeonholing thing that I have to fight against, because I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting a chance to really do my own things and create my own brand. Yeah. So, I'm the happiest guy I know, because I get to do what's in my heart.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's how those moments come along, right? That's how you end up in a Dark Knight movie, because it's like, you're basically like, I'm just going to do what I do and let the chips lie. The happy accidents will happen, I guess you could call it, right? I mean, not that I think people knew Dark Knight was going to be a good movie, but I don't think people knew that, all of a sudden guys like Eric Roberts and Michael Jai White are a part of one of the best superhero movies of all time,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Outlaw Johnny Black. I mean, this is your third time directing. And as you said, I mean, this is in many ways kind of like a relative to Black Dynamite. It's your first time directing a Western, but tell me, I laugh so hard at this movie at times. Where does your sense of humor come from? I mean, this felt like part like Blazing Saddles, Hot Shots, but also really like digging into the tropes of blaxploitation and spaghetti westerns. Is this just your upbringing of comedy?
Yeah, it's me. It's me. Like, it's my taste. Any drama that you've ever seen me in, believe me, I was goofing around before the shot and after the shot.
Right.
I can't curtail my comedic sensibilities.
Yeah.
In my household, it's a running sitcom. That's really my life. This is me letting my flag fly, basically.
Right.
Even though, when you're doing movies and you kick people in the head, people start to define you that way, but that's not it. Actually, the weird thing is, I've done more comedy in my career than anything else. Right. If you line it all up. But but that's something that, you'd have to really dig into my work to really, find that out. But yeah, it's my natural inclination. And I enjoy doing the action comedy type stuff. That's really my wheelhouse. And I hope to have the opportunity to do much more of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and talk about also putting this together. You're wearing so many hats. You're producing, directing, acting. There was, funding that had to be put together to make this even happen. I mean, was this very much a passion project for you after the success of Black Dynamite? You were like, I have to keep doing this, but also taking on that director role, that director part of, because I know you wrote Black Dynamite, but you didn't direct that. So now you were like, all right, this is going to be my baby.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting, but with Black Dynamite, I pretty much directed the performances.
Yeah.
Those people came out of my Rolodex, basically.
Yeah.
And so I would rehearse the performances, and I kind of did a lot of that. But that's but technically, it was directed by Scott Sanders. But
right.
Kind of we worked together on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with this, mainly it's the writing first. I had to write a script that I feel represented what I wanted to do, and that's the thing that really gets the actors involved,
Yeah.
because they read something that they can sink their teeth into.
Yeah.
And there's your reputation, and there's your friendships or whatever, but it's really got to be on that page first.
Right.
And so it really starts with that. And so I wrote something that I wanted to revisit how I felt when I saw the movies growing up of the '70s, and in a way create a Westploitation.
Yeah.
So, and these movies were filled with great storytelling and morality, and that's something I feel that's missing in a lot of movies nowadays.
Yeah.
I remember feeling kind of, I don't know, like liberated after seeing these movies. Like, remember Uptown Saturday Night, and Let's Do It Again, and Piece of the Action that Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte and those guys did.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to use that template, and just like the Duffer Brothers did with Stranger Things, to
Yeah.
just have every nuance for my audiences, my age and older, to relive everything, even the gunshot sound, to revisit that, but also offer that storytelling to a younger audience, and dare I say, present something, a message about forgiveness.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's awesome too. I mean, you have a tribute to Jim Brown at the end of this. You're wearing almost the identical hat that Fred Williamson's worn before in the past. Like, you have such a great sort of tribute to old cinema, like you said, to '70s cinema. Can you talk a little bit about like how sort of the actors like Jim Brown, the Jim Browns, the Fred Williamsons that have come before you, that how they inspired you to sort of make movies like this? And I think like it's interesting because you were in like worked with Quentin Tarantino in the past, but it really does feel like you almost have your own styling separate from Quentin Tarantino, but it does feel like the two of you kind of have a great appreciation for that classic cinema.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Yeah.
Quentin used to come to my blaxploitation nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have we used to have blaxploitation, like we would watch two blaxploitation movies and just have fun with them.
Yeah.
That's before I did Black Dynamite, and when I did Black Dynamite, actually Quentin at one time wanted to kind of co-produce it with me, but he had a different idea, and I ran with mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do have my own style, and what it is you're seeing is a love. I mean, I owe a lot to those images. That Jim Brown and Fred Williamson. I don't
Yeah.
know who I'd be if it weren't for those two guys.
Right.
I saw in them what I wanted to be, and to grow up and actually work with them and befriend them. And I've spent more time with Jim Brown than my own biological father. Jim Brown and I played chess like 3 days a week, and we're shoulder to shoulder. And he was such a guide for me in life. And for this to be the last movie he's done, and him to come out, and he and Fred wrote the dialogue that they
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. So yeah, that's really something. It's hard for me not to be that child.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, after Jim's passing and everything like that, it's like, and Harry Belafonte passing away as well. Like, we've lost some of these legends, and I think that's why I just want to say I think you should be so proud of this film, because it really does tip its hat to those actors and those styles of movies that like we need to get back. I've talked about it this year a lot about having action cinema and old, 70s and 60s cinema be the template and the way that, you know, movies go forward. So I do want to congratulate you on that. So Black Dynamite, Outlaw Johnny Black. What's the third one, man? We gotta get the third one. Is it gonna be like blaxploitation horror? Is it gonna be Blackula? Is it something like I would love
so somebody must have tipped you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in the on the runway.
Okay. I love to hear that. Well, Michael Jai White, thank you so much, man, for talking with me today. Congratulations on the film. Outlaw Johnny Black will be in theaters everywhere on September 15th. I hope so many people go to see this. It's hilarious. It's heartfelt. It's awesome. Congrats again.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.